هي راحت، مشيت. وشو؟ بودكاست ماي جاد ده يقلب البلوك حق بلوستكس. أعطيني برنامج تاع التصوير، قل لي عليه، قل لي توقعت عيان. مم. جاي. ولو. تمام. إيه. موضوعنا يحتوي على العمر، ما أدري ما تحدد. مم. صفر. صفر. أحيان. آه. خير منيش بدون مكانه. واحد راقد قاعد دي. آه. مم. عادي أشوف أتوقع. خلوخ. على بالي ما تقدرش تسمع بس نشوف. عملنا عندي بث مباشر نعلق هنا جد جد. كيف أدير بث مباشر، كيف أدير بث مباشر هاكا بجودة هاكا تناسب المشاهدة بدون متعلق عندك. يعني يعني اف بي اس خفيفة وكل شيء. رجعت قبل شوية في لاج شوية، تحسه شوي. هاكا رجعت قبل كم ثانية ثانيتين. إمم. صحيح. فهمتك. إمم. 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 قُل. آه. فهمت. أها. قُل. ليه فجأة صوتك علّق؟ فبدأ يدقلق كان من عندي وقيل. عندي connection كما دايرة، هيك موتشي. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل connection. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل connection. واو ربي كريم. عندكم شغلة ثقة. واو هيك. برنامجك نكبني تدري. برنامجك نكبني نكبة الأرض. شو يتكلم فجأة يوقف. عمتي كارثة. عملتي كارثة. كارثة عو. آه. عمال دي أنتِ كارثة. ما اقدرش أسمعك منها. آه. يا أيوه. آه. أيوه. أنا في وضعية من سلسلة رعب. مسكة.
Warning, this video contains flashing lights. Hello gorgeous people, what is going on, and welcome back to another video. In today's video we'll be covering a new analog horror series called the Batman Analog Horror. Now if you're a Batman fan like me, you're gonna love this one. In this universe, Batman still fights and takes down criminals, but he seems to be a lot more ruthless and way more grotesque looking. And his way of doing things seems to be a lot more twisted than the Batman we know. What's really wrong with this Batman? What has put him on this path to be so different from the one that we know? And can anybody actually stop him from doing all these crazy things? Today we'll try to answer all of those questions and more. This Batman analog horror series was made by the creator Siltrix, whose link to their channel will be at the top of the description down.
جا ضبط النت استوى عليه. He's taking the child, then Batman.
Guys, I'm super excited to check this one out. So here we go.
House.
Let's jump right in.
ما أدري. Okay. Hey. Mm. Oh. قط شي عندي. نعم.
Analog is absolutely fantastic. Genuinely, it's one of the best pieces of analog horror media I've seen in a long while. By the Asylum to follow all the Joker to his chest. Actually implemented it, so I never itself. Many people think Bruce is dead, or maybe. So I never expected a Batman analog horror series to ever exist, but on the YouTube channel Siltrix there is one, and it's absolutely fantastic. Genuinely, it's one of the best pieces of analog horror media I've seen in a long while, and for good reason. As a brief overview, it's a story essentially based on the idea of what if Bruce Wayne didn't have Alfred by his side? And the deep pit of darkness this leads Bruce and Gotham at large into. Bruce still battles crime in Gotham City, but in doing so has gone completely astray from the values and morals that made the Bruce we all know into Batman. Now, this is going to serve as an analysis and an in-depth review of the series, but if you haven't watched the series on Siltrix's channel, I highly recommend that you check it for yourself, because the sheer horror and value the series brings won't be properly represented in just a synopsis of mine, and I don't want to take away the impact that the series has, so definitely check it out. That being said, let's get into the breakdown. The Bat Incident, 1959. We first pick up with a VHS tape which is dated for the day of April 26, 1959, which is coincidentally 20 years after the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. We learn that Arkham Asylum was recently placed under lockdown after a mysterious figure was spotted near the roof of it, and we then see the recovered footage of a lockdown announcement by the asylum to follow all lockdown procedures and informing us that the GCPD and Arkham Security have been called to take care of the situation. And the procedures I just mentioned are surprisingly listed for patients Waylon Jones, Kirk Langstrom, and Pamela Lillian Isley, as well as the patient zero John Doe, who turns out to be the Joker, with the announcement finally informing us to run if we encounter a man dressed as a bat. We cut back to the tape, and the individual is described by a witness as a man in
Mm.
a bat suit hiding behind a dark corner, which is followed by an artist's rendition, which is disturbing to say the least.
Mm. Mm.
The witness reported that the man was
Mm.
walking towards the special containment area, and
Mm.
while doing so, he was muttering justice and looked malnourished, like he was isolated from the earth for a long period of time. Keep this in mind because it's going to make a lot more sense later on. Afterwards, we're told screaming could be heard from the cells, and inside, the man in the bat suit vanished into thin air without even a trace. But he left behind something that haunts Gotham to this day. And out of the 4 patients, only patient zero survived, while the rest were all killed and horrifically marked with a bat symbol, having even their bodies shaped in the form of a bat. But that's not the only unsettling thing, because of the 3 that died, all had abnormal bodies, and these abnormalities were completely removed once they were found. Croc and Ivy had their skin removed, along with eyes and teeth, with Ivy even being found with her red hair gone. Man-Bat's arms were amputated and had an object in the shape of a bat lodged into his chest. Patient Zero was left untouched, however, but in a somehow worse mental state than before.
إيه، سامعك. يا ساتر. إمم. إمم.
And just as a side note, if someone would go as far to make the Joker become more insane, they must have done some really traumatizing stuff. Anyways, we found out that the patient Zero, ever since the incident, can't stop talking about the man in the batsuit, and that he's ready for his return. Upon which we see this horrifyingly well done sketch of a Batman straight from hell, concluding
إمم.
episode 1 as it glitches out. And for the first tape, this builds up tension so well. The slight pacing of every bit of information with certain clues and teases throughout the tape, like the death anniversary of the Waynes and the red-blooded cowl of the Batsuit, is perfect. Because this, complemented with the cold static of the tape in the background, you actually feel pretty uneasy. It's worrying to think about Batman becoming a symbol of pure fear and not the justice he brings along with it, just taking down his enemies in extremely dark fashion, completely opposed to the original rules of the Batman we know. And the way Sotrix weaponizes this horror you feel from the loss of familiarity from his character is extremely effective. Because they develop the man in the batsuit as a growing threat instead of being just some instant murder machine and becoming another cheap version of the what if X character was evil concept. The atmosphere of the whole tape starts to darken with the bat being mentioned, and the way the tape immediately makes you feel invested rather than shocked with how the patient's deaths are described is what I feel makes a mark of good storytelling. And I also have to mention how I love that they have taken the actual lore from the Batman and DC mythos and actually implemented it beyond just the surface level, which you'll see later on as well, from already a few villains of Batman's.
إمم. 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 إمم.
Rogues Gallery
هذوليك وشو نو.
being present, and that's who being given reason. Their deaths aren't done just to show that this version of Batman is evil. No, rather they're done to show that this version of Batman is nothing like the one we know, being a complete polar opposite to his rule of no killing, to give us a sense of just how much he's out for vengeance upon criminals, which only further elevates and gives genuine truth to the assumed stakes of the story. But now, let's move on to the next tape in the series, Jim Gordon Audio Log Live. MP4 Corrupted, 1960. The log opens by informing us that it's been a year since the Bat incident. There's been more sightings of the Batman, as people are calling him now, along with many other heroes now coming about, like the Blue Boy Scout in Metropolis and the Fast Guy in Central City. Strange, really strange. The tape follows by saying how weird it was that the Bat incident happened exactly
يعني هو خارج العادة، يعني صار يقتل غير الباتمان الأصلي، يعني ما قتل. مم. 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 مم.
20 years after, and on the same day that the Waynes were murdered. That poor Bruce, before he went missing, he was showing strange behavior. We learned that according to the CEO of Cord Industries, Ted Cord, who was a friend of Bruce, Bruce never got over his parents' death, staying malnourished and wanting to restore order to Gotham in insane ways. We're told that Cord and his building were soon burned down with everyone inside after telling this to Jim. From here, we see two pictures of Bruce, one young and with spirit, and the last
مم. مم.
one recorded of him showing his tired self. Many people think Bruce is dead, or maybe somewhere traveling, but there are some, including Jim, who think he never even left, and that he is the Batman. From which we cut to extreme glitching to where a message appears. Citizens of Gotham, vengeance is coming, showing to us why this log became corrupted as we end on distorted images of Bruce, now the Bat. Now, this is on the shorter end of the episodes, but there's still a lot great with it. For one, continuing to expand this horrorverse with the additions of Blue Beetle, Supes, and Flash is definitely an interesting take and something that Siltrix themselves are taking on as well, which is really neat to see, especially in terms of their dedication to this universe. The slow confirmation of telling us the known news that Bruce is this hopeless version of Batman still hits here, especially with that jump cut message, because it was subtly hinted at so well in episode 1, and the payoff to make him now a threat by the end, but also leaving you wondering why he became as such, is really good direction that makes you want to watch what happens next and find out what made Bruce lose himself to his parents' death rather than grow from it as we know. The effect of the text and images simultaneously is also well executed, because unlike many solo creator analog horror, which are very text heavy and feel like you're reading a book with a pan boiling oil in the background in the form of overused static and arbitrary noises, Citrix here has done a fantastic job of making the balance between the text and images feel supported and have value, because either without the other just wouldn't have the same level of impact, and the fact that this is realized and properly done keeps the pacing all that better. From here, we move on to the next video in the series, GCPD Instructional Presentation 1, 1962. The tape opens by greeting us to the instructional presentation by the GCPD on what to do if a loved one is missing. The tape then begins by telling us what to do to ensure your loved ones don't go missing, by first keeping an eye on them at all times, locking the doors and windows so they don't go out, and making sure that no one makes contact with the bat because under any and all circumstances, it will harm you. After which the screen glitches on an instructional image of the bat and ends by cutting to black. Now going to the description, it hints at the kind of vengeance that comes with this Batman. It seems he still wants to fight the evil of Gotham as implied with his conversation with Cord, but he has no morals about it. It could be that the Bat is just trying to kill criminals and take them out permanently, and as such no one is allowed out, or that maybe the Bat actually wants to end the lives of good and evil in Gotham. But in my honest opinion, the reason he may be doing so is because although his mission seems to be to eradicate the crime of Gotham, he may, in his own sick way, also be trying to prevent any more from ever arising in the future as well, by possibly trying to end the lives of these good people as a means of freeing them from the suffering that Gotham brings to its criminals, in turn preventing other innocent people from becoming criminals, albeit through drastic measures. Not to mention that he could also be doing so to build some kind of a sick and twisted version of the Bat family, and in an attempt to gain his Robins who could help him on his mission. There was also something I wanted to mention about Step 2, because just listen to this.
Step 2. Lock all your doors and windows so they don't go out.
How Step 2 informs parents to lock the doors and windows, and then taking a slight pause and stating so they don't go out, is excellent, because even though it may be unintentional due to the text-to-speech voice's output, it gives the implication that in reality, the reason you should hunker down with your family is so that the Batman doesn't come for you and your family, rather than your child getting out. This kind of hinted horror and risk development adds so much more suspense to this story and makes the world building that much more functional. But now, we move on to the next tape titled The Truth. We open with the note of this message saying that they shouldn't be talking about this, but are trying to do so without getting caught. And they confirm that the Batman is indeed Bruce Wayne, or at least once was. The Bruce side of him that was present is gone, and only the Bat now remains. We're told his body is getting skinnier, yet he still retains his strength and agility, which could most likely be attributed to a drug that Bruce is using. The most recent incident involved a little boy walking home and noticing the Bat in an alley, and was able to take this ominous photo of him. And now, thankfully, crime rates have been dropping, along with Arkham becoming practically empty, though again this drop in crime could also just be due to people and criminals leaving the city out of fear. Anyhow, we're then presented with proof that Batman is Bruce. For one, since the time of the first Bat incident, Bruce has not been seen. Secondly, there's also a leaked audio recording which has been found, but before showing us the recording, they tell us to not show this audio to the law so it doesn't find out. And it, of course, seems to be hinting at the Bat and that he may be keeping a close eye on the police. As it begins playing, we first get a brief look at some flashing text appearing on screen which says, "You shouldn't have found this." Now for the audio, this is what's been roughly concluded that it said. "My name is Bruce Wayne. My father is Thomas Wayne. My mother is Martha Wayne. They were both murdered when I was a child. I'm here to confess. It looks like my plan has worked.
Mm. إمم. الرعب. وين البدن؟ آه. إيش تبع راسك؟